सर्वोपनिषदो गावः दोग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्स सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत् धर्मक्षेत्रे कुरुक्षेत्रे समवेता युत्सवः मामकाः पाण्डवाश्चैव किम् अकुर्वत संजय. We may often wonder why Gita, which is Bhagavan Krishna's nectarine song, it's Bhagavan's message to humankind, has to begin with Dhritarashtra's words. Of all the people, why should the sacred Gita begin with a character which is definitely not anything remotely sacred? Dharmakshetre kurukshetre samavetayutsavaha mamakah pandavaschaiva kimakurvata sanjaya. Dharmakshetre, the land of Dharma, the sacred land. Kurukshetre, the land that became popular because of the illustrious king Kuru, who happens to be the ancestor of both the Kauravas and Pandavas. The battlefield of the Kurus, Kurukshetra. Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre. Samaveta Yuyutsavaha. Samaveta Yuyutsavaha. Mamakaha Pandavaha. Dhritarashtra is in conversation with Sanjaya. Mamakaha, my people, he says. Those who belong to me. Is referring to his own sons, the Kauravas. Mamakaha Pandavaha, the sons of Pandu. There is an inherent message here. Those who do not belong to me. Those who belong to me and those who do not belong to me. Samaveta Yuyutsavaha. Samaveta is those who are assembled. Yutsavaha, eager to fight, desire to fight. In the battlefield of Kurukshetra, which is Dharmakshetra, it is Dharmakshetra because that land is a sacred land where rishis of yore have performed several yajnas. In that battlefield, having assembled with eagerness to fight, Kim akurvata? Hey Sanjaya, Kim akurvata? What did they do? This is the question. So the first question that comes to our mind, which is quite relevant to ask, is why should the Gita begin with Dhritarashtra's words? Why should the Gita begin with the words of one who is actually the villain? Is not the hero. One straightforward answer is the Gita is not an isolated philosophical discussion. It's not an isolated text. It is an integral part of the epic Mahabharata. We find the Gita in the Bhishma Parva. So therefore, the Gita is very much part of Bhishma Parva, and it is in the context of the war. It starts with the conversation between Dhritarashtra and Sanjaya. But still, one can still ask, why should the Gita begin at this very stage where Dhritarashtra is asking this question? There are other segments in the Bhishma Parva. Why shouldn't it begin with Krishna's words? Why shouldn't it begin with Arjuna's words? Why shouldn't it begin with a description of the battlefield? Why at all it should begin with Dhritarashtra's words? Gita is a guide to the journey of life. Like any journey, the Gita guides us to journey from darkness to light. In the journey of life, just like how in the ocean, storms can take us away from the intended direction, in the journey of life, the storms of desire, anger, greed, jealousy, delusion, egotism can take us away from our intended direction, take us away from attaining worthy goals. The Gita is like a compass, a GPS, a manual that keeps reminding us, that enables us to realize our definitive destination, our delusive deviation, and the required reorientation. It guides us in the journey from darkness to light. Dhritarashtra represents everything that is dark. He is the very embodiment of tamas. He is the very embodiment of asat. Therefore, the very first shloka, Dhritarashtrauvacha, Dharma kshetre kurukshetre samaveta yuyutsavaha mamakah pandavaschaiva kim akurvata Sanjaya. From Dhritarashtra to Sanjaya, the very first shloka must remind us of the glorious prayer, the Rigvedic prayer. Asatoma Sadgamaya, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amritangamaya. The very first shloka should remind us of what is in store for us in the Gita. The Gita will enable us to embark on this journey from darkness to light, from ignorance to knowledge, from untruth to truth, from everything which is evil, wicked, asuri, to everything that is good, divine, Devi, from mortality to immortality. Therefore, when we chant the Gita starting with the very word, with the Nama Dhritarashtra, we should be reminded of this prayer, seeking guidance to journey from darkness to light. Dhritarashtra represents darkness, Sanjaya represents light. The shloka starts with Dhritarashtra Uvacha, ends with Sanjaya, from darkness to light. Therefore, the very first shloka has a hidden message that this journey that we embark upon, Gita, the journey of Gita, is a journey from darkness to light. This question of Dhritarashtra is a very fascinating question. What is he asking? What is he asking Sanjaya? Kim akurvata Sanjaya? Mamakah pandavas chaiva. Samaveta yuyutsavaha. Samaveta yuyutsavaha. Eager to fight. With a desire to fight. Kauravas and Pandavas, those who have assembled in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, what did they do? What kind of a question is this? This is a self-answering question. Imagine two commentators, cricket commentators, are talking to each other. And the first one is saying, the fielding side have taken positions. The bowler is ready. The batsmen have walked in and have taken positions. The two teams are on the field. What did they do? They are there to play cricket. What else? They played cricket. Obvious answer. The self-answering, self-evident question. Similarly, In the battlefield of Kurukshetra, eager to fight, Kauravas and Pandavas have assembled. What did they do? The answer is quite obvious, isn't it? Isn't it a dumb question to ask? Knowing Dhritarashtra, we can expect him to ask dumb questions. But Bhagavad Sankalpa, Dhritarashtra asks a very important question here, a very leading question. What did they do? There should be something more. It cannot be a self-answering question. There has to be something more hidden in that question, something which is not apparent. Now, Dhritarashtra knows Kurukshetra is Dharma Kshetra, which means this battlefield is not like any other battlefield. This is Dharma Kshetra, where Dharma alone prevails. Thousands of yajnas have been performed here. Rishis have performed austerities on this very land. And therefore, Dharma alone can prevail there. Dhritarashtra knows this. Therefore, he is worried. He is worried, will there be a battle at all? Will Dharma overpower my sons, Kauravas? And will they at the last moment decide not to fight? Or will Dharma aid the Pandavas and make them win easily? Dhritarashtra therefore was concerned. More importantly, Bhagavad Sankalpa, Dhritarashtra asked this question for one reason. Kim akurvata Sanjaya? What did they do? What happened? What is the outcome? The meaning here is, did something happen before the battle? Is something momentous about to happen? The message here is, there is something in store, something historic, something that is going to impact humankind. Krishna, through the very first shloka, is orchestrating, giving a message that Krishna-Arjuna Samvada is in store and the nectarine Bhagavad Gita is in store. In a way, this very first shloka augurs the advent of Krishna's Gita. The very first chapter of the Gita, beginning with this very shloka, is the beginning, is the starting point of inquiry. Inquiry of all seekers. And Gita is a book of answers. Gita is a book of answers. Answers to any question that we may have on life and living. In order to get to the answers, it's very important also to know the questions. The questions are also equally important. In order to get to the answers, one must know the questions and understand the questions as well. If one does not get to the questions, one does not understand the questions, it is like taking an examination without a question paper. The questions are also important. Understanding those questions are equally important. And that is the reason why this whole Samvada is structured in a fashion where Arjuna asks a series of questions, 18 questions in all. And we have relished 17 questions of Arjuna so far. And Gita begins with a question, Dhritarashtra's question, which is also important. Because this is a question which leads further conversation, which leads into the Gita. Therefore, this question of Dhritarashtra is also equally important as every other question of Arjuna's. Dhritarashtra's very first question, if we see in this chapter, Dhritarashtra speaks only once. But he asks a very significant question. In the first chapter, only 3 people speak. Dhritarashtra, Sanjaya and Arjuna. Krishna is a silent spectator throughout the first chapter. Now, all these three speakers, Dhritarashtra, Sanjaya, and Arjuna, are examples for certain characteristics. Dhritarashtra, who is physically blind, who is immersed in ignorance, ajnana. He is the very epitome of tamas. Dhritarashtra is the one who is deluded, blinded mentally and physically. On the other hand, we have Sanjaya, who is an illumined soul, a Mahatma, who is way ahead when it comes to spiritual progress, highly evolved spiritually. And then we have Arjuna, who is temporarily blind. Overcome by confusion, overcome by grief. While Arjuna is in the prime of his life, Dhritarashtra has passed the prime of his life. Dhritarashtra is a king. Arjuna is one who has lost his kingdom. Sanjaya is a servant. Three different character categories here. Essentially, the message here is Gita is for all. Gita is for all. Arjuna received the Gita directly from Krishna. Sanjaya received the Gita thanks to his guru's grace. Vyasa, he could witness the Gita and he had the vision of what was going on the battlefield. And Dhritarashtra too received the Gita through Sanjaya's narration. So therefore, we get this very important message right at the beginning of the Gita. Gita is for all. It is as much for a Dhritarashtra as it is for a Sanjaya or Arjuna. It is as much for one who is advanced in age as it is for a youngster. It is as much for a king as it is for a servant. No discriminations whatsoever. It is for all. Of course, there is a prerequisite. The prerequisite is genuine interest in seeking reality and open mind to receive the answers. That's the only prerequisite. Dhritarashtra obviously had a mind which is closed, and therefore the Gita did not make an impact. So the very first shloka of the Gita, Dhritarashtra starts asking the question, Dharma kshetre kurukshetre. Now, knowing Dhritarashtra, Rashtra's kingdom, Dhritarashtra, one who is holding on firmly to his kingdom. He is the very embodiment of attachment. Now, we all know Dhritarashtra throughout his life was holding on to the Kuru kingdom. So ideally, he should have started off saying Kurukshetre Dharma Kshetre. Kurukshetre Dharma Kshetre Samaveta Yuyutsavaha. This should have been the order. But Bhagavad Sankalpa, the very first word that comes out of Dhritarashtra's lips, Dharma Kshetre. Very surprising that somebody like Dhritarashtra has to start with Dharma Kshetra, not Kurukshetra. So Dhritarashtra did not plan what to ask, and therefore ended up with a very auspicious word. Therefore, Gita begins with a very auspicious word, Dharma. The very first word of Gita, Dharma, indicates what is going to be the theme of the text. The very first word tells us what is going to be the subject matter. of this conversation. Dharma. Dharma is a multi-layered, multi-dimensional word. What we see that throughout the Gita, by starting with the word Dharma, we see that as we move along the 700 verses of the Gita, we get to slowly and steadily peel away the various layers. A layer after layer, we start peeling, and we get to know, we get to go deeper and deeper and deeper inside Dharma, what it stands for. It is not easy to just translate Dharma and say, this is it. The journey of Gita is the journey of discovery of what Dharma is all about. We see how we progress throughout the Gita. We progress in realizing what Dharma is all about. Karpanya dosho upahata swabhavaha prachami tvam dharma sammooda chetaha yashreyasya nishitam bruhitan me sishyasteham shadimam tvam prapannam. Arjuna's question and his submission to Krishna has this word Dharma. Here Dharma stands for duty. Arjuna was confused. He did not know what his duty was. On the one hand, he had to do Kshatriya Dharma. He had to do his duty as a Kshatriya. On the other hand, he also knew there was Kula Dharma. He also had to protect his own Kula, Kurus. There was a conflict between his Kshatriya Dharma and his Kula Dharma. So therefore, Dharma is not only duty, Dharma is right action. What is the right thing to do? Hey Krishna, I am bewildered. I am confused. I do not understand the right from the wrong. Dharma from adharma. On the one hand, you are asking me to engage in this war and do my duty as a Kshatriya, but what happens to my Kula Dharma? What is right? What is wrong? So therefore, the Gita begins with this question on what is right and what is wrong. Right action and wrong action. Right way of living, wrong way of living. What is duty? Dharma, duty, right action. Krishna peels a layer and talks about how one must perform dharma knowing one's dharma. Swadharmam apichaveksha navikampitum arhasi dharmadhi yuddhat shreyonyat kshatriyasya navidyate. Our dharma in life is to do various roles, Krishna says. So dharma, another dimension is role play. We all play roles. Every individual has to play several roles. A role of a father, as a brother, as a friend, as a boss, as an employee, as a neighbor, as a citizen, as a man, as a woman, as a seer, as a listener, as a talker, as a thinker. Different kinds of roles. Krishna says dharma is about playing roles, knowing your dharma. What is dharma here? Knowing your dharma, your intrinsic nature. So dharma also gets introduced, your intrinsic nature. What is Atman's dharma? What is Atma dharma? To know that the Atman is distinct and different from the body. To know that the role player is distinct and different from the role. The person is distinct and different from the personality. Dharma, therefore, is not just to do one's duty, not just to do actions, but actions, duty aligned with the knowledge of one's intrinsic nature, that one is the Atman, not the body. Only then there can be clarity of the roles. Only then one role will not be in conflict with another role. Only then one can perform one's duty dutifully, faithfully. So dharma now gets additional dimension. Another layer is peeled. Then Krishna introduces one more layer of dharma. He peels one more layer. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirbhavati bharata abhyudhanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijanyaham. He said, yada yada hi dharmasya. Dharma here is social order, order and harmony in society. Whenever there is disharmony, hey Arjuna, I descend to bring back order, to restore order in society, he says. By design, creation is in order. There is a beautiful order in creation. Creation by design has order. Nothing is random. There is a glorious design. And whenever there is disorder, Krishna says, he shares with Arjuna Avatara Rahasya. Whenever there is disorder, I descend to restore order. Now, dharma, which is order, dharma, which is duty, how are they related? They are very much related. They are synergistic. When there is order in society, it aids one to perform one's duty. And when one performs duty, one strengthens order in society. Duty and order are synergistic. And then immediately Krishna peels one more layer. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge, he says. Paritranaya sadhunam, to protect the good. Vinashaya dushkritam, to eradicate the wicked. Dharma samsthapanarthaya, to establish dharma. I descend repeatedly. Now, why should Bhagavan keep descending, taking avatars? Paritranaya sadhunam, to protect the good. He can stay in Vaikuntha and protect them with his will. Vinashaya dushkritam. He doesn't need to take avatars to kill Ravana, Hiranyakashipu and Kamsa. Just with his sankalpa, he can eradicate them. Dharma samsthapanarthaya, even to restore order in society, he doesn't need. He can even send his messengers. Then why does he take avatars? This is where Krishna peels one more layer of dharma. Dharma samsthapanarthaya. Dharma, what is this dharma? Why does he descend? Why does he take avatars? Because dharma is the intrinsic nature of every ajivatma is dharma. And what is this dharma? This dharma is loving devotional service, bhakti. And by taking avatars, he reveals his glorious swarupa. He reveals his glorious rupa. He reveals his Aishwarya. He reveals his Kalyana Gunas. And only by revelation of his nature, of his form, of his divine qualities, he can create a basis for strengthening bhakti. It is only through Bhagavad Gunanubhava. It is only by relishing to know him, bhakti can be cultivated. And therefore, in order to create a basis, a strong foundation for bhakti, he keeps repeatedly descending. Bhagavan therefore shares his avatara rahasya, and in that process he reveals, he peels another layer of dharma and says, hey Arjuna, dharma is bhakti, and bhakti is alignment to Bhagavan, loving devotional service to Bhagavan. And that is why he says, Raja Vidya, Raja Guhyam, Pavitra Vidam Uttamam, Pratyakshaavagamam Dharmyam, Susukham Kartum Avyayam. Pratyakshaavagamam Dharmyam, he says. Dharma, another layer peeled here. Dharmyam, the means to the goal. Dharma is not only your duty. Dharma is not only your intrinsic nature. Dharma is not only the social order. Dharma is bhakti. Dharma is that bhakti is means to mukti. Dharmyam, the means to reach the goal. Susukham kartum avyayam. And that is the reason why Krishna, when he concludes his messaging, when does Krishna conclude his messaging? By the end of 12th chapter, Krishna has more or less completed giving his message. The Gita is divided into 3 parts, 3 shadkas of 6 chapters each. With the first 12 chapters, Krishna covers all the topics that need to be covered. He has covered Karma Yoga, he has covered Jnana Yoga, he has covered Bhakti Yoga. He has gone into the details of the tattvas. What is Achit Tattva, the insentient world of matter? What is Chit Tattva, the sentient Jivatma? And the Bhagavad Tattva. He's covered all. So therefore, with 12 chapters, he has completed his discourse. He has completed clarifying everything that Arjuna has to be told. And the last 6 chapters is reiterating what has already been covered. So when we look at the conclusion of 12th chapter, that is the concluding message of Krishna. And what is the concluding message of Krishna? Yetu dharmyamritamidam yatoktam paryupasate. Yetu dharmyamritamidam. Again, another layer of dharma is getting peeled. Yetu dharmyamritamidam yatoktam paryupasate. This dharma, hey Arjuna, is Amrita, he says. This dharma, this is the end of the 12th chapter, where Krishna is talking about Bhakti Yoga. He says, one who has Krishna as the only goal, one who has Krishna as the only goal, one who performs every action with the goal of attainment of Bhagavan, one who has unflinching, undivided bhakti. Bhaktaste ativa me priyaha, he says. Such a bhakta is the one who is dearest to me, he says. So dharma here is winning over Krishna by serving him. It is not just loving service, it is loving service to please him and please him alone. Loving service not for our pleasure, not for our sake, for his sake. And then the last 6 chapters of the Gita, in the process of explaining the relationship between 3 tattvas, once again Krishna peels several layers of dharma. Krishna clearly explains every Jivatma is an Amsha. Bhagavan is an Amshi. We are all parts of that one undivided organic whole, WHOLE. And therefore, what is the dharma of a part which belongs to the whole? The dharma of a part that belongs to the whole is to serve the whole. And what is the dharma of the whole? To protect the part. So our dharma is to serve Krishna, and Krishna's dharma is in turn to take care of us, to protect us. And eventually, Krishna peels another layer of dharma towards the end of the 18th chapter, where he says, hey Arjuna, dharma is equal to my will. Krishna's will is dharma, which we will see towards when we discuss 18th chapter. So several layers of dharma keeps getting peeled, chapter after chapter, chapter after chapter. So therefore, Dhritarashtra's very first word, Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre Samavetayutsavaha. Dharmakshetre, dharma sets the stage. This very first word, dharma, sets the stage for an elaborate discussion on dharma, sets the stage for a journey in discovery of dharma. Now this very first shloka also has another interesting hidden message. Let us once again revisit the shloka. Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre Samavetayutsavaha Mamakaha Pandavaschaiva Kim Akurvata Sanjaya. The very first line is Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre. Now when we begin the Gita, Dharma Kshetre, we can translate it as a land of Dharma. Kurukshetre, the land which belongs to the Kurus, the battlefield of Kurus. But after the 13th chapter, we get to understand another dimension of the word Kshetra. The 13th chapter is Kshetra, Kshetrajna, Vibhaga Yoga. And what is Kshetra? The Kshetra is the human body. Kshetra is a human body. Human body is compared to a cultivated land where one can sow and reap one's karma. Now, the word Kuru can stand for Kuru dynasty. The word Kuru in Sanskrit can also stand for action. Kuru, doing action, executing, performing. Kurukshetra, the body is a Kurukshetra, the field of actions. Kurukshetra, therefore, is a field of actions. This field of actions is also Dharma Kshetra. It is only through the body that we can perform Dharma. How can the Atman go about performing its duty? It needs the body. The body is its vehicle. Without the body, the Atman cannot perform its Dharma. Therefore, the Kurukshetra, the field of actions, the human body, is also Dharma Kshetra. So therefore, both Kurukshetra and Dharma Kshetra stand for the human body. Mamakaha Pandavaha. Now who is saying this? Dhritarashtra is saying this. Dhritarashtra represents a blind mind. Dhritarashtra represents a blind mind. On the other hand, Sanjaya is a witness to what is happening on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Dhritarashtra has a blind mind, and this blind mind is saying, Mamakaha. Mamaka, what are the offspring of a blind mind? Thousands and thousands, a myriad of desires and cravings for sense pleasures. Pandavaha, Pandava, sons of Pandu, who represent a discriminating mind. Now, to get the hidden message in this very first shloka, we have to travel all the way back from the battlefield of Kurukshetra. We have to transport ourselves from the battle of Kurukshetra, from that battle to the present battle, a battle which happened thousands of years ago, to the present battle. And what is the present battle? The battle called life. And we have to transport ourselves from the battlefield which is thousands of miles away to our battlefield, our own bodies. Our own bodies, our body is a field where there is a everyday battle. The forces of discrimination encounter the formidable forces of desires, cravings for sense pleasures. And this is an everyday battle. And this battle keeps happening every day as we try to lead a purposeful living, as we try to lead a right and proper living. This battle keeps on going. Now, in this context, Dhritarashtra Vacha, Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Yutsavaha. Samaveta Yutsavaha. The myriad desires and cravings are arrayed against a discriminative mind. Mamaka Pandavas Chaiva Kimukurvata Sanjaya. It's like Sanjaya is the witness, the Atman. The blind mind is asking the Atman. It's a conversation between the blind mind and the Atman. Hey Atman, in this battle of life, what is the outcome today? This battle between all my desires and cravings and the discriminative mind, who has won today? Who has the upper hand today? Did the desires Do the desires have the upper hand, or did the discriminative mind win today? Now, this is a question that we need to keep asking ourselves every day. So this very first shloka of the Gita, therefore, is a very important life lesson that needs to be constantly reflected on. Dharma kshetre kurukshetre samaveta yuyutsavaha mamakah pandavaschaiva kimukurvata sanjaya kimukurvata. Who has the upper hand? Who is winning? Are my desires winning? Or my power of discrimination winning? We need to keep asking ourselves. And we need to keep benchmarking. Is my today better than my yesterday? Will my tomorrow be better than today? Am I able to cultivate viveka and vairagya so that I can overcome the forces of my own cravings, overcome the forces of my own desires, overcome the force of my vasanas? Knowingly or unknowingly, Dhritarashtra blurted out something which happens to be a very profound message for all of us. While we have been peeling different layers of dharma, getting deeper and deeper and deeper, there is still one more layer to peel. Yecha vedavido jana vedavido vipraha yecha adhyatmavido janaha te vadanti mahatmanam. This is a glorious declaration in the Mahabharata. Yecha vedavido vipraha yecha adhyatmavido janaha te vadanti mahatmanam krishnam dharmam sanatanam. Te vadanti mahatmanam krishnam dharmam sanatanam. This is getting to the core of what is dharma. Krishnam dharmam sanatanam. Dharma is Krishna, Krishna is dharma. Yecha vedavido vipraha yecha adhyatmavido janaha te vadanti mahatmanaha. Those who are truly learned, those who know the Vedas, those who know the Shastras, those who know Adhyatma Vidya, all the Mahatmas, the great Jnanis, the great Bhaktas, they all know. They are all united in one thing. They have all discovered the ultimate truth. What is Dharma? Dharma is Krishna. Krishna is Dharma. Now, with this revelation of Dharma, the first shloka gets a completely different meaning altogether. Dharma kshetre. Kshetra, which belongs to Dharma, which is Krishna. And what is that? Krishna's kshetra is this universe, this Leela Vibhuti which belongs to him, created by him. Dharma kshetre. This universe is his Leela Vibhuti. It is his world, his creation. Dharma kshetre. Kurukshetre. He created this world only for the jivas to do all their activities. This is the world of samsara. Kuru, activity, Kurukshetra. This Leela Vibhuti is created by Krishna for only one reason: to perform right actions so that the jivas can exit samsara and attain him. Dharma kshetre Kurukshetre. Mamakah Pandavaha. Mamakaha, those who are against the will of Krishna. Pandavaha, those who are aligned with the will of Krishna. Mamakaha, those who are asuri in nature. Pandavaha, those who are daivi in nature. Mamakaha, the perennial consumers. Pandavaha, the eternal contributors. Mamakaha, those with the mindset, survival of the fittest. Pandavaha, those with the mindset, sacrifice by the fittest for the welfare of one and all. There is always this tussle going on between these two forces. Samaveta yuyutsavaha. These two categories of people. In this created world of Krishna, there are these two categories of people. Always facing each other. These two forces, one against the other. Kimakurvata Sanjaya. What did they do? Who succeeded? Who succeeded? Who is victorious in this battle of these two forces? Knowingly or unknowingly, Dhritarashtra asked this question. Answer is quite obvious, isn't it? Krishna succeeds. Jayatu Devaki Nandanoyam, Jayatu Krishno, Vishnivamsa Pradipaha, Jayatu Megashyamala Komalangaha, Jayatu Prithvi Bharanaso Mukundaha. As Kulashekara declares, ultimately the victor, the winner, the one who always wins is Bhagavan Krishna, and those who are his instruments in the process. When he wins, we also win. When we are his instruments, his victory is our victory. So therefore, the obvious answer to the question, who is winning, who wins? Hey Sanjaya, Sanjaya also stands for one who has attained victory. Sanjaya is the one who has attained victory. Dhritarashtra, the loser. Sanjaya, the winner. The winner, obviously the answer is Krishna wins, and the always Dharma prevails. Always truth prevails. Dharma kshetre kurukshetre. There's some more. Picture abhi kafi baki hai. Dharma kshetre kurukshetre. These two encapsulate the first two shlokas of Ishavasya Upanishad. Ishavasyam idam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bhunjitaha magrita kashyas vidhanam. Ishavasyam idam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat. Everything belongs to Krishna. He is the only owner. Nobody else owns anything. Everyone else at best can only be a trustee. Everything, yatkincha jagatyam jagat. Nothing is owned by any one of us. He is the only owner. He is the Vibhu. He is the Swami. He is the Niyanta. Everything is owned by him. Therefore, tena tyaktena bhunjitaha. The only way to enjoy is by renouncing everything. Dharma kshetre. The kshetra is owned by Dharma, who is Krishna. Everything is owned by him. Ishavasyam idam sarvam yatkimcha jagatyam jagat. And after having declared this, immediately the Upanishad says, Kurvanneveha karmani jijivise satam samaha evam tvai nanyatosti na karma lipyate naraha kurukshetre. Kurvanneveha karmani. How Kurukshetra, where one performs actions. How do I perform actions? I perform my actions rooted in the awareness that Ishavasyam idam sarvam yatkimcha jagatyam jagat. I perform my actions rooted in the awareness that this kshetra, this world, is Dharma kshetra, which belongs to Krishna. And when one performs this like this, Samaveta Yuyutsavaha Mamakaha Pandavaschaiva. Who are Mamaka here? Mamakaha, those who are ignorant of the rules that govern this universe. Those who are ignorant of the laws of nature, both physical laws and spiritual laws. Because the fundamental law of creation is everything is owned by him. Nothing is owned by us. And therefore, successful living is based on the principle, on the law of renunciation. Renunciation is the only means for gratification. So, mamakaha, those who are ignorant of the rules. Our life, like any other game, is governed by rules. Those who break the rules have to face the consequences. Those who win are those who abide by the rules. Pandavaha, those who abide by the rules, those who know the laws that govern the workings of this universe. Samaveta yuyutsavaha. Those who are ignorant of the rules of the game of life, and those who are aware of the rules that govern the workings of the universe. Samaveta, have assembled. Yuyutsavaha, eager to fight. Now, both these classes of people are eager to fight, but there is a difference. The first class of people who are ignorant, who do not know the rules, the laws that govern the workings of the universe, end up fighting with others, end up fighting with the world. For them, the principle is suppressing the world. Whereas on the other hand, those who know the workings of this universe, those who understand the laws that govern the functioning of this universe, they also compete, they also fight, but they fight with their internal enemies. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsaryas. And their principle is not to suppress the world, their principle is to serve the world. Dharma kshetre kurukshetre samaveta yutsavaha mamakah pandavaschaiva kimakurvata Sanjaya. What did they do? What did they accomplish? Who succeeded is the question. What is the answer? Sanjaya gives a beautiful answer. Yatra yogeshwara krishnaha yatra partho dhanuddaraha tatra shri vijayo bodhihi dhruvanītir matir mama. Yatra yogeshwara krishnaha yatra partho dhanuddaraha. Wherever there is Krishna and wherever there is Arjuna wielding the divine bow, Gandiva, that is important. Arjuna without the Gandiva is not our Arjuna. Why? Because wielding the Gandiva means he is engaging in performing the duty. Where there is Krishna and where there is Arjuna aligned with Krishna. Where there is Krishna and whenever we are aligned with Krishna, tatra shrihi, vijayaha, bhutihi, dhruvanītihi. There is good fortune, there is victory, there is prosperity, there is never-ending nobility, never-ending harmony. Sanjaya loudly declares this as an answer to Dhritarashtra's question. In a way, the other 698 shlokas of the Gita has a total of 700 shlokas. The first and the last, these two shlokas, in a way, the other 698 are an expansion of these two shlokas. Therefore, when we start to chant Gita, we need not be very uncomfortable starting off saying Dhritarashtra Vacha. Dhritarashtra Vacha. Dharma kshetre kurukshetre samaveta yutsavaha mamakah pandavaschaiva kimukurvata Sanjaya. Now, Dharma kshetre kurukshetre, we said, represents the first two shlokas of the Ishavasya Upanishad, which essentially is giving us the message that one must perform one's duty rooted in the principle of renunciation, rooted in the principle of tyaga, sannyasa. Renunciation is the only means to gratification. Immediately, we will all ask, we know a little bit about renunciation, but we want to know more about, because if the central message of the Gita is renunciation, if we have to live our lives rooted in the principle of renunciation, we are all eager to know more about renunciation. And Arjuna comes to our rescue. And his 18th question is very much on this topic of renunciation, tyaga, sannyasa. And Arjuna's 18th question is the very first shloka of the 18th chapter. what is Arjuna going to ask and what is going to ensue will be our deep dive into the 18th chapter. Until then, let us continue to reflect for a change on Dhritarashtra's question. Dharma kshetre kurukshetre samaveta yutsavaha mamaka pandavaschaiva kimukurvata sanjaya. Sarvam Sri Krishnarpanastu.